Hello, you hottie hot hotties. Welcome to Wild&T with Tony, Tara, Teddy, and Tawny.
We're in October now, officially full and fledged.
Officially cold. It's getting cold here too, and I don't like it.
We went to Ohio.
Heater has been turned on.
What?
Have you guys reached your heater temperature
That's all I
yet?
had to say.
Just turning on the heater. That's all I had to say. End of story. That is
My
all you
heater
need
has
to know.
actually been on for about 2 weeks now because when I get up in the morning at like 5 or 6 a.m. and I go sit down in my office, which is the coldest room in the house, it's way freezing. And because I'm on a keyboard, I'm like, I can't handle this. So I've had my heater on.
Yeah, I'll turn on the heater for like 5 minutes in the morning and that's it. When I just get out of the shower and I'm freezing. So, but it got warm today. It's like in the 80s today. This past weekend has been warm, but it's been cold the last couple of weeks, and it's been snowing in the mountains. So
it's coming. Donna.
Don't say that word.
Yeah, we went to Ohio this past weekend for Aaron's grandparents' vow renewal, and it was freezing. It was like nice and 70s the first day we got there, and then the next day, bam, 50s, and we were like, whoa. Why? And one of the nights, Aaron's mom's boyfriend wanted to have a bonfire outside at our Airbnb. And so they're like, yeah, we need to go outside. And I was like, I would poke my head and be like, is the fire ready? And then like step back in. And then I grabbed a blanket, bundled myself up, and waddled out there with my blanket. And I'm sitting there all by myself by this fire, waiting for everybody else to come out.
It was a really cute be real moment that you had there.
My little Eskimo get up. No, it was fun though. We had a good time.
Nice. Has anyone been able to do their fall craft? For those who haven't caught up with us yet, basically we decided that we were going to have a monthly challenge and do a fall craft. So has anyone started one yet?
I have.
Can I just say that I did clean my entire kitchen and my oven stovetop for the first time?
Nice.
It felt so good. Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh. We were gone for like 3 days, right? We left Friday morning and we got back super late Sunday night, and we had somebody come in and they were feeding our dog, but nobody was like collecting the eggs for the chickens. This morning I walk out there and there were 30 eggs.
Whoa.
And in one box there were like 15 just sitting in one box.
You have a little chicken sweatshop in there, don't you?
Yeah, they were turning out.
Yeah, and then later this evening I went and got more eggs and there were 8 more. So in total there were 38 over the past 4 days.
Whoa.
I know.
The ladies have been doing their fall crafting, haven't they?
They have.
Oh, can I say for my fall crafting? Okay, so I have a lot of oak trees in my backyard, and they drop acorns and branches like no one's business year round. And so I was like, oh, acorns, cute. That's totally fall. I guess I could just like glitter them or something and then figure out what to do with them. And then I was like, oh, there are all these like bendy branches. I may as well just make a wreath by myself. And I've gotten like halfway and I'm like, it's like a teeny tiny, like thin wreath. I'm like, this is so much work. But now I feel like I can't stop because I'm already so dedicated. And that's why my fall crafts have been struggling.
So for my fall craft, I bought this like kit to make these like witches hats, and you put a little like light in it and then you hang it, right? So I can hang it on my front porch. So I bought this and I was like, this is a great idea. It was not a great idea.
Oh no.
You buy the hat and then you have this like super thin fishing line, and you have to tie the fishing line around the like battery operated like tea candles. So you tie this teeny tiny little fishing line around it, and you have to get it to stay. And then you take this wooden bead and you tie it on the other end, so that's where it like stops inside the witch's hat, so the light floats. But then you like thread it through, and then you're like, now what? How do I get this line to stay here if I let it go without like falling back through the hat? So I'd kind of like given up on it. I'd like tied everything together, and then I'd just like my mistake. Balled it all. Well, I didn't ball it, but I put it all together and I put it in the bag. So where's all the fishing lines like in this ball now?
Oh no.
And then I went over to a friend's house one day. And we were just doing some like crafting or whatever. And so it was me and her and another girl. And we were just doing our little crafting and everything. And so I pull out my witch hats and they were like, what's going on with that? And so I was like, here is my ball of fishing wire and tea lights and beads. So they're like, let's help you, Tawny. So they actually helped me.
Oh.
Got some thicker fishing wire and cut it all up and retied it. And then we hot glued the light, like the string inside the hat. So now it's all put together and I just have to hang them, which I'm gonna do tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, that like flashed me back to the scene of Miss Congeniality when she like comes in and she's like, which one's mascara? And they're like, ladies. Like,
okay, I know which one of these is lipstick. Ladies, now first thing we need to do.
I didn't even think of that. And they're like, we have to help her with the full craft.
Basically. They like dropped what they were doing to help me with mine.
That's so awesome. That's so sweet.
It
Aw.
was really sweet.
We love that. What are you doing, Tony?
I got the materials to make a wreath and I haven't done anything with it. And I was like choosing a wreath because I was like, I'll try and do something, fun that I can hang outside my door. And now I might be moving in like the next month. So now I'm just like, well, I don't know what the point of that was.
Oh, you're
Like,
moving.
why
and
are
I
wreaths
did this.
so hard? Like, mom has wreaths for every season. I guess she doesn't like
No.
make them herself usually, but
even just buying
like,
them.
wreaths are
Wouldn't you just
so
buy them
weird.
out, like Oriental Trading out of the
Yeah.
magazine?
But
I
it's
just needed-
like, what is that called? Like the Mandela effect or whatever, where I feel like mom made all the wreaths, but she didn't. She never did.
That was her one fall craft she didn't take on. She didn't DIY herself. But then I realized I'm probably gonna have trick-or-treaters this year, so I do have to decorate my front porch so people
how
like aren't scared and that people know that like the house isn't abandoned.
My fall craft for this year is that I'm going to decorate my door.
Cute.
And
So-
yeah, I have a tablecloth that's just from 2 years ago that I'll never use. And I'm going to paint it so it looks like platform 9 3/4.
Yes.
That's so fun.
Because 'tis the season for some Harry Potter from now until through Christmas.
Now through New Year's, sure. Okay. Oh, worst part about the acorns was I put them in a little bucket and they just like sat there for like 2 weeks. And then I'm like taking them out like one by one and there were like dead worms in there. And I was like,
Ugh.
I didn't know that I brought worms into my home, that they were like eating the acorns. And I was like,
That was unintentional.
Yeah. And it was extra worse because I got corn on the cob from the farmer's market and I cooked them and like baked them in the husk rather than like boiled them. And when I like took off the husk, there were worms coming out and I was like,
Ooh.
it's the season of worms and I am trying really hard not to like gag just talking about it now. It's great.
That's
I
so
was on the
wild.
phone with
No.
mom and dad. I was literally on the phone with mom and dad. And I was like, is this okay to eat?
What did they say?
They were like, just cut off the part that's worm infested. Otherwise, like, it's fine.
Well,
Yeah, no, I'd be like, nope, that's ruined. Can't have that. What a shame.
Yeah, it turns out pesticide just gives you peace of mind.
Guys, I thought I killed my tomato plants because they were dead and they weren't growing back this spring. And then
The
I
cherry
walked out there the other
tomatoes?
day. Yeah, the little tiny ones that I like never watered because I forgot about them because they were here when we moved into the house, right? And I looked out there and there was a plant and there are a bunch of little tiny green ones and I'm so excited because now we're gonna have tomatoes again, even though we don't eat them.
Yeah. I was like, you mean the tomatoes you made me eat because you were like, I don't eat cherry tomatoes.
I made that sauce though with and Aaron likes
Oh,
that
yeah, that's
sauce.
true. Good job. Well, that's exciting.
So, are we speaking of fall in October, are we pumpkin spice girlies?
Oh, for sure.
No.
Yeah. Yes. So it's half and half.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I'm
I
not like a huge pumpkin spice drink person, but I do like all the other pumpkin spice things. And if there's a pumpkin spice drink, I'm not going to turn it down.
the pumpkin spice chai tea latte, which I know chai and tea is the same and it's really stupid, but it's Starbucks and the drink is so good. And pumpkin spice aromas, pumpkin chocolate chip muffins with pumpkin spice in them.
So TikTok has really been pushing their new TikTok shop feature. And for the most part, it's actually super annoying because like every other video is an advertisement. But there's one thing that I keep seeing like all of these videos doing reviews and stuff on, and I saw it and I was like, after watching probably like a half a dozen, not half a dozen, like a couple dozen reviews on it, I was like, I think I'm going to get this because it's called the Unbrush, and
Oh
it's a
dear.
detangling brush, and it literally just goes straight through your hair without snagging or anything, even if your hair is tangled. Like every single day, I hate brushing my hair because I get up, I start to brush it out, it like hurts. And today, like I will brush my hair like every other day just to like avoid the pain of brushing my hair. But like today, I get up and I got this brush today, like it just came in the mail. And so I was super excited and I used it and it literally just like brushed out my hair in like 2 minutes.
Nah, I'll believe
No
it when I see
snagging.
it. If
No
we get it for
snagging or anything.
Christmas, I'll
No.
believe it. I literally had to make it a New Year's resolution last year to brush my hair consistently because that's how much I was sick of brushing my tangled hair out.
No. The number of times I have been late to like work and stuff because I didn't realize it was going to take me 10 minutes to brush my hair out. Like this brush is real. It's real. It actually works.
That's
I'm
impressive
very
and really
curious.
interesting. Yeah. No, it sounds like a scam. I'm not gonna lie.
It's real. No, I saw so many videos and I was like, I have to try because it was like people with like super curly, like nappy hair, like just using this brush and it just like going so smooth. So yes, it's real. It
After a
works.
couple dozen reviews, Tony fell for it.
Get the
It's just
unbrush.
like scientifically, how does this work? Like the physics.
There's
Yeah, the
actually like
physics.
the way
The
it's
math's not
designed.
mathing here.
The way
Hair
it's
math.
designed.
I
Because
don't
there's like
understand.
longer bristles and then there's like shorter bristles and it the way
My
they
hair's
like
scared.
the ones on the edge poke out diagonally like that and it's
It's
just
literally
like
like shark teeth. I'm
basically
terrified. I'm terrified.
it's shark teeth for your hair and it just goes straight through.
Sharks didn't want to bite us. They just wanted to brush our nappy hair. That's really what was happening.
They said we do this for the mermaids all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the mermaids were fine with it.
The mermaids have shark's tooth brushes. That's why I see.
So
Wow.
10 out of
Well,
10 do recommend.
real
Was
interesting.
it a specific brand or was it
Yeah,
different
Yeah,
brands
brush.
and they're like, oh, it's
specific
just the same
brand.
style?
It's a specific brand called the Unbrush and like there are a bunch of like copycats out there now, but I got the real one.
Well, thank you for giving us your honest review of the brush. Now we're going to move on to another type of honest reviews. We're going to be reading some Am I the A-hole? And we're going to be deeming whether these people are indeed the a-hole or not. Are you ready? Am I the a-hole for not answering my phone on holiday? Hello, everyone. I finally had some vacation this year and scheduled a trip to be all by myself. I really needed to go somewhere quiet since I have changed jobs recently and I was alone for 5 weeks since a coworker had the holidays scheduled. It was a bit hard, so I was eager to go away. The problem, my coworker kept texting me every day to my personal number asking for my logins. I answered no because they are personal. I asked why she needed my logins, and she kept saying that she needed them. At the third day, I asked my boss, what was happening, and the boss answered that I was on vacation and didn't want a text from me, so I stopped answering. It was ruining my vacation. On my birthday, while I was having dinner with some people I met at the hotel and celebrating my birthday, she texted again asking for my logins. I did not answer. The next morning, after being bombarded with question marks, I told her that I was on holiday. It was my birthday, and I don't keep track of my personal phone while on holiday. Well, at dinner, she asked for the logins again. It was this time that I had blocked her. I have returned to work, and after she confronted me on why I blocked her, I told her that as I respected get 5 weeks off, she had to respect my 2 weeks. And since she was contacting my personal number, I have the right to block anyone that I feel that does not have consideration for me. I explained once more that it is not safe to share logins and that there are various emails set saying that. Now I'm feeling guilty for putting my foot down, but on the other side, I feel like the limits are being pushed. Am I in the wrong here?
No.
I think you're
Definitely.
confused on like what this is. Like, this sounds more like an HR issue than an a-hole issue. And I think you're in the wrong place for this feedback situation.
Yeah.
So
No, it's immediately no. Immediately no, right?
Just with the title, it's immediately no. Like,
Seriously. As soon as you say, I'm on vacation, and I said, don't talk to me. Yeah, no, don't talk to me. I'm not on the clock. This is not my job.
like
And
unless
logins?
you are
Who shares
on
logins?
call.
And I'm
you do not
sorry,
get
but
paternity.
this also gets me is that the coworker was asking for the logins. The person said why, and all they said was because I need them. No, ma'am, it's not gonna happen.
yeah, and
That
why
is how
did the
you compromise
manager
yourself.
be like, "Don't text me while you're on vacation"? Like, what was that about?
Yeah, he was like, "You're on vacation. I don't want a text from you."
He's like, "You're on vacation. It's not my problem." Okay.
Yeah, no, that's awful. I have had times when I was a manager, I allowed people to reach out to me on vacation, and it was a mistake.
I've literally had coworkers, like I joined a new team and they're like overexcited. And I went on vacation and they're texting me like, "Are you loving vacation? Work is so." I was like, "Why are you like, don't. We're not friends like that. Like, I'll talk to you when I get back to the office. Don't text me outside of the office about my off time." That was very aggravating that I just ignored them. I literally like muted them and moved on.
Yeah, no, awful, awful, so annoying. They absolutely should have blocked them, and they don't need to feel guilty for it. It sucks because you have to go back and then see them, the coworker, the annoying coworker, face to face. But also, like, if you can block them over the phone, you can block them at the office. Like, let's be real.
Mentally blocked.
And
Not
that's why you don't
the
give
a-hole.
coworkers personal numbers either.
Exactly. Oh, but sometimes they can look them up in the directory in at the company directory.
Yeah, there's like a call tree for your teammates. Sometimes it's stupid.
And they find out what number you are. That's true.
Yeah, so awful. You're like, oh, I need to reach out to this person. I promise you, you do not. Promise.
There is nothing that is that important.
Meanwhile, in Europe, they're gone for like 5 months. They're just like, I will be back in the office next year.
What is that video of the guy who's on lunch and he's like, "Is it really that important?" They're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Let me tell you a secret. It's not."
Yes.
Actually reminds me of Dad. He would come home when he first started working at the prison. He would come home and he would have his like a coworker call him and they'd talk for like freaking 30 minutes, just like talking trash about like the job. And
No,
Dad
you
would
do
be
that while
up
you're
there.
on the clock, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
not an
literally
off.
somebody
block.
time
I
for
know,
that.
I know. His coworker would just go
But he
off.
did have a work phone, so technically.
True, he did.
Okay. Next one. Am I the a-hole? Friend booked a hotel without my input and I can't afford it. My friend and I live in different cities and we made plans to meet in NYC. She has to travel there anyways, which is about halfway between our respective homes. We haven't seen each other since COVID and I was excited to meet up there for a weekend getaway. We discussed sitting down and choosing a hotel together, but she wasn't responding and at 11 p.m. I fell asleep. I woke up to her texting me at 4 a.m. and she had booked a $1,700 hotel for 2 nights. I can't afford this. I'm also a single parent. I'm on a tight budget. She's very mad at me. I did make it clear I wanted to figure it out together. I don't understand why she didn't wait for me to wake up to book this with me. Am I the a-hole? And then we have a couple of edits here. First one was, I spoke some more to my friend. She's not really upset about the accommodation. We definitely misunderstood each other's intentions and plans. She told me since she's happy to put a bigger part of the hotel bill, since it's outside my budget, she's also able to cancel because she booked less than 24 hours ago. I'm relieved, but I feel like I didn't think my budget through, and I'm a bit nervous now.
So a few months ago, I went on like a little weekend trip with a group of people here, and we were booking an Airbnb, and we we I guess the girl who was looking at it and was like booking it, she was like, "So what's like everybody like what could they pay?" And some people were like 150 and the other people were like 100, and I was literally like as cheap as possible. I was like just as cheap as possible. Right? And so she was like, "Okay." So like she finds these options and like we break down the numbers, and she was like the one that they wanted was like 95 each. And she was like, "Well, we agreed that like 100 under $100." And I was like, "No, under $100 is not like 95, $97. That's like 80. That's like 75." No, literally. And I was just like, "Okay." We ended up getting a cheaper one, thank goodness. But I was so irritated. Like when somebody says under $100, you do not book it in the 90s. You do not book it in the 90s.
That one's hard though, because for that one, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, when you say under 100, like what exactly do you mean? Because I mean, with that, it is definitely, and especially in the situation for this person who, wrote this thing, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that she was like, well, let's sit down about it versus being like, okay, this is my budget, so let's sit down and figure something else out. Like I think, and I'm not saying she is the a-hole, she's definitely not. She should not ever be made to feel uncomfortable with not being able to pay for something. Like you should never feel forced into it or, put yourself in debt or in a sticky situation because you can't afford something, especially if you didn't, agree to it ahead of time. So I definitely get that. But I feel like right off the bat, there should be an exact, like, I cannot go above this specific number, or I, need to keep it at this specific number. So just giving a ballpark of like, let's try to not go expensive it's relative for different people. So cheap for somebody could be, more expensive, or cheap for somebody else could be like nothing essentially. So it perception, it's different for everybody for what is less expensive or what is more expensive. It's different for everybody. And so I think that she definitely should have been more upfront right away when they discussed hotels and being like, okay, it'll definitely be better for me to do like, this is my budget for my hotel, and to be upfront with that. Like personally, me and a friend of mine had wanted to go on a trip to Hawaii. We ended up not being able to go because she had changed jobs, and so she got her own place, and it was super exciting for her. And so I know it took a lot for her to tell me like, hey, I can't really, do this right now. And I was like, not a problem. Like, that's totally cool. I never want you to be in a situation where you feel like you have to, or you feel like sick to your stomach because you can't do something, you need to back out, and you don't want to tell the person because you're like, we made these plans, and now I feel so upset and so nervous about telling them that I am sick in my stomach. Like, you should never have to feel that way when it comes to money and your livelihood, especially. So, I mean, I think that there should have been, and she and I had talked the entire time about, this is our budget, this is what we want to spend, this is what we want to keep it below. So it's definitely important to be very specific, especially when it comes to budgeting, I think.
Well, and I think too, it's good to find multiple options and be like, this is going to cost us this much each. This is going to cost us this much each, but this is what I found, and these are the pros and the cons of each. That makes sense to me when making plans, instead of just being like, I found one thing and we're all going to pitch it.
Yeah.
And then booking and being like, now pay.
Exactly. Oh my god.
I'll be honest though, I would like to hear the other person's side of it, because I'm like, yeah, but you did say it was miscommunication too. So they could have been thinking like, oh, you just go ahead and like, we'll figure it out. Like, I don't know what she said to the other person. And I'll be honest, I don't think that person was trying to be like, we're going bougie and I'm going to make you do it. That would be weird, because then it's just like, they would just pay for the hotel if that's what they wanted.
This is the second update, though. It says, She's mad again and said I should have expected this price range. And it's not like would have found anything cheaper, but I can pay that what I can and she'll pay the rest. And then it says, I
Okay.
just feel really bad. I don't want to be her charity case. It's not like I'm in financial duress, but I'm not that wealthy.
Um,
$1,700 for a
A
hotel for
night.
2 nights is insanity.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Clearly, these friends don't know each other very well because clearly one expects a 5-star hotel and the other one doesn't. And the one friend who is not willing to go less and is just like, oh, she knows I only like 5-star hotels. I'm just playing like the other side. Like, I am not completely on this person's side. I think you guys need to understand your friendships a little bit better because know your friends. If you don't know your friend well enough, you're the a-hole.
so Tara's like, this is on you, fool.
I mean, if it's
think
like
this
the
is on
first
her.
time you go on a vacation or you plan a vacation like this, you never know until you're in that situation what it's gonna be like.
I mean, but you know your friends' habits even if you don't go on vacation with them.
That is true. I did have one vacation where I went down to LA with a couple of friends, and I knew that one of my friends was very high maintenance, and we had to compromise on the hotel that we were getting. And so she did foot a bigger part because she wanted more of the luxury. But yeah, it worked out. We also communicated about it and we also understood one another. So
Exactly.
you're not
Yeah.
wrong. You're not wrong.
And I agree with Connie. Like,
Undetermined.
you shouldn't feel stressed. You shouldn't put your friendships in that situation. But if she truly is okay with like paying the bigger part of the bill so that she can be in the comfort she wants to and also have her friend there and pay for a portion of it, then that's, how it works sometimes. We don't have to Dutch it
Yeah.
all the time.
No, definitely. And
I
I
like
think that
the
they should talk about that. I mean, if you're in a situation where, I've definitely been in situations with friends where one of us can pay more or less, but it's been back and forth. So it's like at one point in our life, one of us, foots the whatever it is, and then later on the other one does it. And it's not like a, hey, you got
Exactly.
me this time. It's more of like a, hey, I got you. Like, I know you're in a different situation, and then, you'll just give me another time. And so I think that it definitely, like you were saying, they probably don't know each other that well, or it's been a really long time since they've done something like that. So yeah, it definitely just feels a little awkward and strained. They need to talk about it. They need to communicate.
I'm like in that post in that story, didn't she say like wasn't this like just overnight? Like she woke up to her friend had booked this thing, and so
But
she
from her
just
point of
said
view, yeah.
so
Yeah.
so her friend just went ahead and did it with like after like 2 minutes of discussion also. So
Well, her friend probably was like, well, this is something that I can do. And if she, can't, then her friend probably thought like, oh, I'll just help out whatever she can't do. But her friend probably was in the mindset, this is what I'm good with and I can afford it. So, I mean, like pretty much everybody's saying there just wasn't communication, but they're also like, she didn't lay the, like what was good for her. But they also like the other friend, obviously, like they just didn't really know each other well enough to know what each other's comforts were. So I don't think she's the a-hole, but I also don't think the friend is. I think it just was miscommunication.
No a-holes found here. Moving on.
0 a-holes.
Okay. Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend not to use baby talk in public? My girlfriend, 22 female, and me, 24 male, have been together for 2 years. She has a habit of talking to me in a baby voice when we're alone together. And I actually find it very cute and it's hardly hurting anyone, so we do it back and forth at each other sometimes. It's just a silly thing we share. My problem is that she recently started doing that in front of other people when talking to me, and it makes for an
Yeah.
uncomfortable atmosphere for those around us, such as friends or family. It just feels awkward and like a weird public display of something that feels very intimate and personal to us. I'd rather they didn't get that insight into our relationship. I recently found myself spending a quiet evening with my girlfriend, and I gently asked her whether she'd be okay not using that baby voice when we're in public, and gave the reasons that I just explained. She was really offended and accused me of being embarrassed of her or ashamed of our relationship, which I tried to explain wasn't true, but to little success. Ever I'm almost done. I'm sorry. Ever since she hasn't been doing it in public, but also not in private because she'd rather not do it at all if I'm so embarrassed by it. Again, I'm not embarrassed. I thought it was sweet and liked doing it, but it just wasn't something I wanted displayed to others. That's all. Was I too hard on her by doing that, or was it an okay thing of me to ask her?
I love that she's like, you don't want me to do it in public? Well, boy, I ain't doing it in private either. You ain't getting none of this. Oh my gosh, I'm dying. This is awesome.
I
Honestly,
think that it's a reasonable ask because, I mean, not everything you do with your significant other needs to be done everywhere.
Mhm.
No.
And it's good to talk about, I love that we do this together, but I'd rather not do it in front of others because I'm just not comfortable with it. That's okay. That's okay to not be comfortable with something alone versus out in public.
I mean, obviously, if you're baby talking, I am not surprised that she got offended. If she is still baby, I don't understand why people baby talk in relationships. It's weird to me, but people enjoy it, whatever. Each their own. Don't share it in the public. But if she is baby talking, I'm not surprised that she's offended when he tells her not to baby talk. And is baby talk the correct term as well? If you're telling someone like, "Can you please stop with the baby talk?" and she's like, "I'm a 22-year-old woman. It is not baby talk." Like it could be possible she's offended by the term you used. I don't know. You're not the a-hole, but
Good luck, buddy.
Listen to this comment. Listen to this comment. The quote, recently she started doing that in front of other people, end quote. I don't need any more info. Not the a-hole. Allow me to speak for your family and friends. That's gross, and I don't want to be around people that do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone has their own thing. That's totally fine. But let's be considerate of those around us, maybe. And,
let's literally think of
know,
others sometimes.
A little
yeah.
social awareness goes a long way.
Yeah.
We don't need the snogging hallway at high school. We don't need to be those couples, shall we?
I hated every moment of that. That was, and he kept going on, and I was like, "No, we get it. You can stop. Nope, we get it. We know what's happening here."
It was really hard to get through that one for sure. It's just a lot of funniness. Okay. So this one is kind of relatable for college people, I think. Am I the a-hole for not letting my roommate's boyfriend in the room and not wanting him to stay overnight? My roommate and I live in a typical student dorm at our university. We don't know each other's going into the year, but we've definitely formed a friendship. We're not like best friends or anything, but we get along well. We never really officially discuss boundaries or anything like that. We just treat each other with respect and use common sense, and that's worked out for us in the time we've been living together. Every now and then, she'll tell me about her boyfriend, but she's never shown me any pictures or anything. All I know is he goes to another school a few states away, and they've been together since high school. One day, she tells me he's going to be visiting because he has a fall break. I didn't ask any kind of details when she said this and just said okay. Yesterday, I get a text from her saying that her boyfriend was on his way and asked if I could let him in the room if he shows up before she's back. However, I didn't see this text until I get a knock on the door. I look through the peephole and ask for who it is, and he announces himself as my roommate's boyfriend. Now, I had never seen this guy before in my life, so I didn't let him in. I asked him if he could just wait until she was back from class. He said, "Sorry to bother you," and walked away. About 30 minutes later, my roommate comes back with this guy from before. She starts asking me why I didn't let him in. I told her that I had no idea what her boyfriend looked like and wasn't comfortable with some random guy coming into the room while I was alone. She told me that I was overreacting and needed to grow up. They leave and don't come back until much later. I'm just about to go to sleep and ask how much longer he'll be still staying. And he says probably just in the next 2 nights. I ask him where he's staying, and he gets this confused look on his face. Then he says he's staying in our room. I told both of them I never agreed to anything like that and that he would need to leave. My roommate then proceeded to call me a biatch. I stood firm, and finally they both left. My roommate sent me a message saying that they ended up sleeping in his car and was trying to guilt trip me. Am I the a-hole?
That's uncomfortable. And perfectly valid that she would not want to let this stranger into her room all by herself.
I mean, the fact that you're like sharing a bedroom. So I'll be honest, if you're sharing a literal bedroom with each other, your roommate has zero respect for you. That is a respect situation. And she just shows she doesn't have respect for your space, your comfortability, nada. So, yeah, like that kind of situation, it's a respect thing. And she could care less about you.
I had a situation similar to this in college where one of my roommates, her boyfriend would come over all the time, which was whatever. We had like a living room space, and then there was 2 rooms in the upstairs house where there was 6 of us total that stayed up there. 4 of us were in one room, 2 of us were in another room. I was in the room with 4 girls. And I wake up one morning hearing someone snoring, which is, again, whatever, people snore. But I look over and it's my roommate's boyfriend in her bed with her. And I am, I'm in the
Violated.
comfort room and, not wearing a bra. And so I'm just like, well, this is not okay. And I go over and I shook his foot until he woke up and I said, you need to leave. And then that roommate hated me for the rest of the semester. She came after me for the rest of this, and she got our other roommates to shun me for the rest of the semester because
I love that you like
didn't
woke
let her
him
do
up. I love that you woke him up. I would have gone straight for the roommate. I'd be like, get your boyfriend out now.
that.
But you're just like, yoo-hoo, mysterious man, leave.
You need to get out. And she was like, you hit him. And I was like, I did not hit him.
I just picture
I
you
did not
grabbing
hit
his
him awake.
toe and like shaking his toe
That's
back and
literally
forth.
what I did. I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Like not even the
Well,
toe
I
of the
mean,
sock.
it's like practically like the guy walking into the woman's bathroom. You're allowed to hit him. He doesn't belong there. It's not his space. It's not for him. You're not paying
No.
rent. Move along.
And it's totally okay to have in college, I think it's fine to have your significance over if your roommates are okay with it. But that's a discussion that needs to be had, and you cannot just assume, oh, this is my bed. I own it. So it has nothing to do with you when there's no privacy and it is a shared space. So
Well, and he didn't
you're
even like
right.
crash on the couch. Like even that would be a whole set. Not that it's better, but it's not in your room. And there was no like, hey, by the way, guys, he's gonna crash here. No, you just wake up and there's a man in your room. That's terrifying. If you are not expecting a man to be in your room and the man shows up in your room, no, ma'am. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So,
Risky business.
yeah, and it's very violating. It's your space too, and that is super disrespectful.
Yeah, and she totally has a point to not even have let him in the room when her roommate wasn't there, and she had no idea who this guy was. So very smart. Don't get murdered. Not the a-hole.
And not even just that, but then there's that whole like he said, she said thing. You don't know what this guy's like. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what he's gonna say, and that can cause a whole other thing of issues. So she's just protecting herself, just in general.
Especially in college.
Yep.
Strange things happen. You got to be careful. College is risky. Send your kids to college.
Send your kids to college. Be educated. Educate yourself.
Here, educate yourself.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. We'll do a traveling one. Am I the a-hole for cutting in line when getting off of a plane? I had a flight yesterday that got delayed, so I had a really tight window to make my connecting flight like less than 10 minutes. I knew I was going to basically just have to sprint off the plane and directly to my next gate. Unfortunately, my seat was in the very, very back of the small plane. As soon as the seatbelt light turned off, I jumped out of my seat with my bag and moved toward the front of the plane as fast as I could. I didn't shove anyone out of the way, but I did ask to squeeze by a few people, apologizing and explaining that I had a very tight connection. Everyone was willing to let me get through. Once I got to the door, some guy behind me turned, yelling that I should just wait my turn since there's lots of people with tight connections. I explained that I didn't really have time to compare everyone's schedules, but he maintained that I was being an a-hole and should have just waited my turn. Am I the a-hole? Is this some unwritten rule of plane etiquette I didn't know about?
Oh, God.
I would
Oh,
understand if I was shoving people aside or cutting people who were waiting, but I don't see what's wrong with moving forward in an empty aisle.
Your response to that man was a-hole.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't have time to compare everybody's schedules and connections. Mine has an issue. So you're an a-hole for that response. Just ignore the guy and walk away and be like, I already asked people. They were okay with it. But no, your response to that guy was a-hole. And yes, it is courtesy. And if you don't know this, you are the a-hole.
Yep.
It is
It
an
is
unwritten rule,
an unwritten
100%.
rule.
And the reason that it is like that is because if everybody's trying to jump out of their seat and run to the front, then it's going to take forever. It's like a zipper, guys. Come on now. It's like when you're merging, okay, and you're driving and you're merging. Same thing. It'll go much smoother if we all just take our turn. And we have all had to run to catch a connecting flight. We've all been there. It happens.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like, he asked people if he could get by them. Everyone was willing. There was one guy who wasn't willing. And I think that the issue was he needed to feel justified by everyone.
Yeah, he showed his
So,
true colors by his response for sure.
And also, he says he's like, I don't see what's the problem with walking through an empty aisle. Apparently, it wasn't empty. So,
Yeah.
might want to
I
rethink
mean,
that one.
I have
He's like, the
been,
whole back was empty until I got to the front. And you're like, yeah, because everybody else knows the rules.
I definitely have been on planes where people, like, dozens of people are rushing to get to the closed door for some reason. And it's like, okay, like, that's not going to get the door to open faster. So I don't understand why you're rushing so bad. But also, someone commented and said, next, not the a-hole, however, next time, let the flight attendant know about your incredibly short connection, and they may ask everyone to stay seated for the person in this seat who has a 10-minute connection. And I've been on flights where that's happened too.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, is that sometimes flight attendants will like make an announcement about it or say something if they're aware. But that's the other thing too, is make sure that the people are aware. And, you know, like they were saying, like ask them beforehand, make sure there's some kind of like acknowledgement, like, hey, you know, just see if there's anybody else too that is rushing because it's not your world. You're not the only one living in it.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely had to get through a security line. And I was talking to the security guard, and he's like, just ask people if you can cut. And I was like, you're joking, right? I was like, that's what you're giving me? And I was like, fine. So I asked people, I was like, do you mind if I cut? I'm trying to catch my flight. And like, people let you through, and it was fine. Ultimately, it didn't matter. I didn't make the flight because it didn't matter. Like, the security guard was zero help. Even cutting people didn't make it, but we tried. I mean, that's the thing. Your action of asking people to move out of the way is acceptable. But you honestly showed your true colors by how you responded to that guy and how you're like, this isn't a real thing. Sorry, bud. You
Yeah,
are
being like,
not
don't
real.
attack me. And it's like, nah,
Yeah.
you're never going to see
We
this
had-
person again.
Yeah. we were coming to your side until then. Sorry.
Airport drama is the craziest to me because you're just in a room full of so many strangers or in an area full of so many strangers that you're never going to see again. And it costs nothing to be polite, as they say. So, and everyone is stressed because it's stressful traveling. It's a stressful situation. So just don't be an a-hole.
And like almost guarantee more than one person had a short connection. It's another unwritten rule that you can just assume. You can just assume that other people have short
Yeah.
connections.
You need to travel more. and read the room more.
Yeah, you're not the only person on the plane with a connection, and you're not the most important person on the plane, no matter what you may think.
And next time, get a seat in the front, and then it won't be a problem for you. Plan ahead better.
Next time, just don't be a peasant. You should have thought of that
Yeah,
before you
don't be a
became a peasant.
Learn.
So you don't have what? Food.
But really, your poor planning doesn't make people have to accommodate for you. You just have to suck it up and deal. The other place knows that you have a tight connection. The people at the other gate know that. Whether they choose to acknowledge that or not is on them. But everybody else knows. They know that
Yeah.
you just got there.
And that's
Also-
that's just flying initiation, okay? Is to have a cool
Yeah.
connection, and you either have to run and you're sweaty by the time you sit down next to somebody else, or you miss it. It's just initiation into the flying world.
It's part of the mind game for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you travel and you get used to traveling and you learn, especially when there are specific places that are always gonna have delays and you're always going to be making a tight connection there, and you learn to not pick like 45-minute layovers because you run the risk of missing that connection. Like
And
every
inevitably, that plane is going to be late.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly. And it's always in an airport where you have to travel across
Always.
5 different terminals to get to the right place.
This particular man, he encountered a lot of really nice people, so just take the win. This didn't need to be posted.
Yeah.
You're the a-hole for posting this and requiring validation, okay?
Yes.
Well,
That was a good one
that
to end on.
Yep. That wraps up our unsolicited a-hole advice. Just remember, don't be the a-hole, and pesticide gives you peace of mind. This has been another episode of Wild&T. Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Love you,
Bye.
bye.
Thank you for listening to Wild&T. This podcast episode was produced and edited by Teddy Chanpoon, Kyron Maciel, and Dallas Hanson. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with your sisters. For more content, you can follow Wild&T on all platforms or our individual socials. See you next week.